When I was teaching you all behavior therapy, I had mentioned to you all that there are various techniques or methods within behavior therapy that you can use. This is on page number 97 and 98. So the various behavioral techniques that can be used are negative reinforcement, aversive conditioning, positive reinforcement, token economy, differential reinforcement, systematic desensitization, and modeling. Today we'll be doing the first 4 techniques. Starting off with the first one, which is negative reinforcement. It is a technique where a particular behavior or a response is strengthened by removing something unpleasant. So for example, you want to increase the strength or you want to increase the occurrence of a particular behavior like wearing of sweaters in your client. So you make your client wear the sweater and your client will be able to avoid something unpleasant, which is the cold weather. So the behavior of wearing a sweater is going to increase in your client or is going to be strengthened. That is negative reinforcement, where you strengthen a response by removing something unpleasant. The next one is aversive conditioning. This is a technique where you pair an unpleasant or an unacceptable behavior with something negative, with something unpleasant. So for example, if there is a client of yours who consumes alcohol and consumption of alcohol is an unacceptable behavior, you want that to stop. So what you do with your client is you let your client take a sip of alcohol or just smell alcohol, and immediately after that you give an electric shock to the client. So you do this on a regular basis, and at some point in time your client is going to stop consuming alcohol because your client will relate consumption of alcohol to electric shock. So for example, there's also this chewing gum called Nicotex. Chewing of the chewing gum makes an individual puke if that individual smokes right before that, right? So every time an individual smokes, you give a Nicotex chewing gum, the person will chew that and feel like puking, and slowly that individual will start associating smoking with the feeling of nausea or with the feeling of vomiting, and hence your client, the client or that individual will stop smoking. That is aversive conditioning. Positive reinforcement is where you strengthen a behavior or a response by providing something pleasant to the client. So what you do in positive reinforcement is, say for example, a child does his homework correctly and on time, and that response or that behavior is a very good and acceptable behavior. You want that to happen very often. So for that to happen very often, you give something pleasant to the client. So you give a chocolate to your client so that he or she will repeat that behavior again and again. That is positive reinforcement. Token economy is where you announce in the beginning itself that the client will be given a token for each time that a desirable response occurs. And end of the week or end of the day, you count the number of tokens collected by your client, and based on that you give a reward. So this token economy technique is applied a lot in the classes of small children, where children are told, or it is announced before them, that every time they get good marks in an exam or every time they do well in sports, they will be given various tokens like just a symbol to count how many times that behavior occurs. Okay, and then end of the day, end of the month, sometimes those tokens are counted. So each student's tokens will be counted and they will be rewarded on the basis of how many tokens they have collected. So therefore that desirable behavior will occur more often in the client. So these are the 4 behavioral techniques. In the next video we will study about differential reinforcement, systematic desensitization, and modeling.